Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, it should be Saturday morning. I'm recording this on Friday evening so that we can have a live chat Saturday morning. So hopefully you guys are joining me right now and we'll be able to chat for a little bit. But I guess this is going to be somewhat of an impromptu video. I do have a few things that I want to cover, and a couple of things. First of all, I hope you all had a good week. Okay, the weekends are always great because freedom is a beautiful thing. But I was actually not watching, but I was listening to a blog this morning while I was at work. When I'm at work, I usually put on a blog and listen to it while I'm doing my QA stuff. And I forgot his name. I think his name is Johnny X Army or John X Army or something like that. Really animated guy, all right, and very entertaining. You know, I kind of enjoyed listening to his show. But he asked a question that was very intriguing, and I never thought of it. And this is where it goes to reaching, teaching, and repeat. Okay, he said, if you really want to wake someone up, ask them, what in your house, what do you have that holds value? If the lights went out tomorrow and they were never going to come back. So ask them. Ask someone that's maybe not awake. I think that's a great question. And yeah, I'm kind of stealing this question from him because, you know, he asked it in his show. And I never heard that question before, and it's very interesting. It is a very, very good way to actually wake someone up. Go to someone's house and ask them, if the lights went out tomorrow, what do you own that has value in that situation? And then, you know, see what they say. Maybe they'll look at their flat screen TV and say, well, that doesn't have value anymore. You know, depending on what kind of a failure to the grid it was, whether it was a CME or an EMP, you know, or a grid attack, you know, some kind of attack that made the grid go out and it's not gonna come back for a long time. What in your home has value? You know, do you have the things that you're going to need if something like that ever happens? And I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about all the different situations that you can prepare for. And I was thinking, what's the worst situation that you can prepare for? And, you know, there are situations that you cannot prepare for. Okay, so I can maybe foresee some people saying, well, the worst situation would be, you know, if a nuclear bomb fell on you, you know, or fell, you know, right next to you. Well, I mean, maybe what I'm getting at is what's the worst situation you can prepare for that is possible for you to survive? Because if a nuclear bomb falls on your house, you're dead. You have nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about your preps. You don't have to worry about anything because you're dead. Okay? But what's the worst situation? What is the worst survivable situation that can occur that you can prepare for? And what I thought is that that's what you want to prep for, is the worst situation, because any situation less than that, you should be okay. Because if you prep for the worst situation that you can think of, then anything that happens that has a lesser gravity than that worst situation that you're preparing for, you should be able to make it through, right? So, for example, let's take a look at this real quick. Okay, bear with me. Hopefully my computer's working well today. Okay, so this is a photo of a coronal mass ejection. This is what it looks like on the surface of the sun when the sun, I'm going to say burps. When the sun burps and it shoots a whole bunch of radioactive particle towards the earth that can travel up to 1,000,000 miles an hour. All right. If you take a look at the upper left hand corner, if you're following my pointer right here, that right there is the earth, all right, compared to the sun. All right, and this is actually, if we took the earth and put it next to the sun, this is actually the size that the earth would look right next to the sun. That's how much bigger than us, than the earth, the sun is. Okay, so look at how massive that coronal mass ejection is right there. Now imagine that traveling through space at 40-50,000 kilometers per hour, because normally the sun's radiation normally travels around 400-500 kilometers per second. Okay, but imagine this traveling at a much greater speed than that and engulfing the earth. What do you think would happen? Well, as I've covered before in previous videos, we know that, at least in the United States, I can't speak for other countries, in the United States, our grid is not protected against a coronal mass ejection of this size. And it's not really protected against an EMP, all right, which is a man-made thing that would take down the grid. Okay, coronal mass ejection is natural. It comes from the sun. We never know when it's going to happen. We do know after it happens, all right, and we can predict, I'm not sure with how much certainty, of when it's going to happen. However, it can happen anytime. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, I think 2 or 3 days ago, it was being reported that we had a 90% chance of getting hit by a CME that the sun threw at us. And then as time went by, it went from like a 90% chance to a 1% chance. But ladies and gentlemen, this will eventually happen. Okay? Eventually, all right, the laws of averages states that eventually the earth will be engulfed by a huge coronal mass ejection that will fry the grid unless the grid is protected. Now, the US has decided that $10 to $30 billion is too much money for us to spend on hardening our grid against a massive CME. So what do you think is going to happen if something like this occurs? All right, and this video is kind of intended towards people that don't believe that these things can happen. Okay, and that is a symptom of normalcy bias. All right, usually normalcy bias is when a person doesn't believe that something is not going to happen because it's never happened, or at least it's never happened in their lifetime. And I'm not downing anyone by saying what I'm going to say now, but that's kind of an ignorant way to look at it. So if I were to exercise normalcy bias by saying this statement, think of how ignorant that sounds. Listen to the statement. I have never broken a bone in my body. So that means that I can never break a bone in my body. See, does that sound ignorant? You all know that if you've never broken a bone in your body, it doesn't mean that it can never happen. Of course it can happen. I could trip down my stairs tomorrow and break my leg, or break my arm, or crack my skull. Only because it's never happened to me, or it's never happened in my lifetime, doesn't mean that it cannot happen. All right, So that is why we prepare. Okay? So why do I put salt on my stairs outside? So that they're not slippery, so that I won't trip and fall. That is a way of preparing against me or my family or anyone that uses my stairs outside from tripping and falling. So why is it that some people just don't understand that only because something has never happened in their lifetime that it cannot happen again? It can, ladies and gentlemen. This right here, something of this magnitude that you're looking at right now, occurred just 150 years ago, 159 years ago actually, it occurred. And when it occurred during that time, it created a lot of mayhem. However, 159 years ago, they didn't have the technology that we have now. They didn't rely on the technology that we rely on now. Could you just imagine if all of a sudden, just the internet, let's say just the internet went out, okay? How much mayhem that would create. Most supermarkets, most stores in general, okay, rely on the internet for their ordering systems. Most trucking companies rely on the internet. They rely on GPS, all right, in order to track their shipments, in order to receive their orders, etc. Okay? So now take it one step further. Let's say that something like this, what you're looking at here, interrupted the internet, interrupted GPS. Okay, here we go. No flights are going to go anywhere, all right, because GPS is not functioning. All right. Truck drivers aren't going to be shipping anything, all right, because the ordering system is going to be out of whack. I don't know how many businesses will have to stop working because they don't have internet. I know that where I work, if the internet goes out, we're dead in the water. There is absolutely nothing we can do if the internet goes out. It's our Achilles heel. Okay? If the internet goes out, how's the banking system going to work? How's ATM machines going to work? Okay? And that's only if those two things go out. If the internet goes out and if satellites go out. All right? Now, what if electricity goes out? Now, what are you going to do? Do you have a plan on what you are going to do if the electricity goes out right now? How are you going to get your water? How are you going to get your food? If the electricity goes out, supermarkets are going to close. Maybe they'll open the next day when they realize that they have to get rid of all of their cold storage items, you know, like meats, dairy, poultry, things like that, and maybe they'll start taking cash. But these days, who knows? These large supermarkets, they may just take it as a loss and say, well, we'll just throw all this stuff away and not even sell it at a reduced price. Who knows? Because I know that my son used to work for Sam's Club, and he said they used to throw away food like crazy over there. He said if they were one day past their limit, they would go in the garbage. They did not give it to any food shelters. They would not sell it at a discount. They just threw it away, period. Okay, so who knows if they would even do that? All right? But imagine the severity of this right here, CME, ramming into the earth. We will lose electricity. You know, they've said that vehicles will stop running, or anything with a microchip in it will stop working. All right? Many transformers, or most transformers, will blow up because they will have such a high voltage going through them that they won't be able to handle that, and they will blow up. All right? Most of the transformers that we have in the United States have a lead time of 12 to 18 months to be replaced. We don't really have extras. they are a huge, huge task to replace. Okay? And we don't even make those transformers here in the United States. I believe that they're made in South Korea. Okay? And if something like this happens, do you really think that South Korea is going to be worried about making transformers for the US when they have to take care of their own? I don't think so. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so think of the worst thing that can happen. Alright, I think that a CME like this would be a lot worse than just a financial collapse. But a financial collapse is also eventually going to happen. It's happened throughout history many, many, many times. What makes you think that it's not going to happen again? Especially with the way that things are now, especially with the amount of debt that exists throughout the world. What makes you think that that's not going to happen again? It will happen again. It may be covered up and made to look like something else, but it will be that. A financial collapse is just a huge transference of wealth. That's what a financial collapse is, because during financial collapses, a lot of people get very rich. It's going to be a huge transfer of wealth. All right? And people will be destitute. And people will die. Just because of a financial collapse. People will die. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Great Depression, but it's estimated that anywhere between 6 to 9 million people in America died of starvation during the Great Depression. So why are so many people not awake to the fact that they need to prepare? I read a comment not too long ago on one of my past videos, and it was someone that said, why are you storing so much food? What are you going to do when the food is gone? So this person, I'm assuming, was thinking that preparing is just storing food. You know, maybe he or she wasn't in the know that, hey, listen, food is to get you through at least the first winter, so that you can start planting, you know, a garden, and hopefully you have some chickens and livestock that can provide you with some protein, right? But the storable food is meant to get you through a period of time where you cannot provide your own food, where you cannot make or grow your own food. So I see people finding excuses not to prep. But ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you, who is going to take care of you? All right? Who is going to take care of you if something like this happens? Or even if, look at this. Look at this. This is the Dow. This is Friday evening, and today the Dow took a 558 point hit. All right, but look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think that this is a real market, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, you're mistaken if you think this is a real market. All right? How is it that the value of something can go up and down so frequently and with so much volatility? All right? I mean, the Dow only measures the well-being of 30 companies. You're telling me that today a 558 point loss, all right, or drop today, that's roughly $550 billion, all right, of lost value. You're telling me that today those 30 companies, they lost on average, all those companies put together lost $500 billion worth of value. How did they lose $500 billion worth of value? Did some of their buildings burn down? You know, was there an earthquake? Was there a tornado? Was there a hurricane that wiped out, you know, some of their infrastructure? How did they lose all this wealth or value? They didn't, ladies and gentlemen. They are worth what they are worth. This is all fake. What you see here is a computer. What you see here is an algorithm saying buy, sell, sometimes several times per second, buying and selling maybe the same stock so that they can make a fraction of a penny per trade. Okay, this is not real. What will you do if this collapses? When this goes down to fair market value, right, and the stocks that you hold in one of these companies, when it loses 80% or 90% of its value because there's no one wanting to buy these stocks, now what are you going to do? How are you going to provide for yourselves? Do you have a hedge against this? Are you prepared to lose 90% of your wealth? Because it's perfectly fine if you want to gamble in the market. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Go ahead and make the money now while you can, if you can. But hedge yourself. Purchase some real, tangible items. Purchase food. Stock up your pantry. Get at least 6 months of food. Preferably a year of food. Buy lots of seeds. Make sure you have water and a way to clean your water. Make sure you have medicines, especially if you have prescription medicines. Make sure you have some to last you a few months at least, or as much as you can get from your doctor. Make sure that you have basic hygiene items. Okay? Goodness gracious. I mean, some people, it's, and I don't blame them. I don't blame, the only people that I would blame are people that know, like there's someone that I know that plain straight told me, yeah, I know this can happen. And I'm like, well, are you preparing? Are you getting some food, or, you know, storing away some food? Or are you storing extra fuel, you know, just in case, you know, gas stations close? No, I figure if it happens, it happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what. One of the most dangerous things in the world is a person like that. A person that knows that there is a likelihood that some kind of major crisis can happen, but refuses to prep for it, especially if they have children. Okay? Because a starving child is the best thing that can get a person, a parent, to do bad things to other people to get food for their child. Right? I mean, look at this. Look at this. If your child got like this, what would you do? These are terrible. Oh, but you know, AP, this is in a different country. This can never happen here. Really? Do you really think, do you want to take that bet? Do you really want to take that bet that something like that couldn't happen here? Do you really want to take that bet? Especially if you have children. Do you want to bet that something like that wouldn't happen here? Or do you want to spend a little bit of time and money now and make sure that you purchase insurance, at least for the ones that you love? Look, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. This is a supermarket aisle. Look at how full it is. We have plenty of time. We've had plenty of time. I think that maybe time's getting a little short, but you never know. We never know when something really bad is going to happen. All right? But look at how much, well, not those, but look at how much stuff. This is what our shelves look like now. Right now, any one of you that lives in the US can go to a supermarket, and more than likely your shelves are going to look just as full as these. Why are you waiting for them to look like this? Because you've never seen them like that before? Talk to people that have been through a hurricane. Talk to RP. All right, rural paradise. She's been through several hurricanes, and I bet you that she would tell you that right before a hurricane that the shelves start looking like this. If we have an economic collapse, do you think that the shelves are going to be full? No, they're not. Everything that a business does nowadays is done with credit. They need credit to buy their products. If we have some kind of an economic crisis where there is a credit crunch, meaning that the banks close and we cannot borrow money, the supermarkets are not going to be stocking up. They're going to have what they have, and that's it. Your average supermarket has around 3 days of food on their shelves. Unless you live in a populated area, like let's say like New York City, they only have about 1.5 to 1 day of food on their shelves. What are they going to do if the trucks stop coming for whatever reason? Because of an EMP, because of a CME, because of an economic collapse, for whatever reason, what are they going to do for food? You know what they're going to do? They're going to start killing each other so that they can get food for their children and for themselves. All right? Because what we are, ladies and gentlemen, we are domesticated. We have become domesticated. We are no longer that animal that used to have to go and hunt for his food. All right? We are no longer that animal that knew that if we didn't bring home some meat tonight, that we weren't going to survive the next day. We have become domesticated. We have become like a cat or like a domesticated dog. All right? Look at the dog. Look at what's happened to the dog. The dog has evolved from a wild animal that was able to hunt and feed itself to a dependent animal. All right? The reason a dog is man's best friend is because that dog needs man to feed it. That's why a dog is man's best friend. We have become a domesticated creature, just like cats and dogs have. And we are 100% dependent upon a system that can fail at any time. And most of us don't want to heed the warning to prepare for a failure of that system that we've become accustomed to. Either we don't want to do it because we don't want to believe that anything can happen, or we don't want to do it because we don't think there's no sense in prepping, because what are you going to do when your food runs out? That is a great excuse not to prep. You know that? I mean, think about it. That is a great excuse not to prep. What are you going to do when your food runs out? Well, I mean, I hope that the person that left that comment is listening to this video, because I know what I'm going to do when the food runs out. First of all, I'm going to make sure that I have plenty of food, all right, to last me at least a couple of winters so that I can figure it out. That's what prepping is, ladies and gentlemen. Prepping is giving yourself a buffer so that you can figure out what it is that you're going to need to do in order to survive. Giving yourself that buffer to be able to fail at gardening or at raising livestock, at least for 1 or 2 seasons. That way you can have time to figure it out. You know, go ahead and get 2 years, get 3 years worth of food. The more the better. The more you get, the longer you will have to figure it out. The longer you will have to be able to figure out how to grow those potatoes if you don't know how to do it now. Me personally, I haven't been able to garden yet. I haven't gotten that far in my journey, you know, with creating my own, you know, miniature homestead, if you want to call it that. Okay, I haven't gotten that far yet, but I have seeds. I know that if I take a seed and I put it in the ground and I water it, something's going to grow as long as I have sunlight. Okay, that's what prepping is. It's a way to give yourself time to figure it out. But if you don't at least give yourself that time, if you don't give yourself that buffer, you're not going to have a chance. And I guarantee that once a person gets hungry enough, that little light bulb in their brain that's attached to that prehistoric DNA is going to turn on, and that person will turn into an animal, and that person will do whatever it takes to stay alive, whether it means hurting someone else, or whether it means stealing from someone else, or even if it means killing someone else. And in worst case scenario, they'll eat someone else to stay alive. Because let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, when you've experienced near death, you will understand that you don't want to die. I hear a lot of people saying, when the Lord wants to take me, He's going to take me. That's fine. Okay? It is good for you to be comfortable with your spiritual self. Okay? It is good for you to know that you are going to go somewhere better when you die. But when the time comes, you're not going to want to. You're going to want to survive. All right? It's really easy to say, well, I'm ready to go anytime. But when the time comes, you're going to pray to God that you be allowed to stay alive. You will. Okay? Been there, done that. So take this time that you've been given. Okay? Take the abundance that we have, that we currently have on the shelves. You can go to a supermarket. Think about this. You can go to a supermarket almost anywhere that you live. You can go to a supermarket anytime, 24 hours a day, and pick up some food. Okay? Almost anywhere in the US where you live. You can probably go to a supermarket and pick up some food 24 hours a day, anytime you want. But some people would rather just stay home and watch a football game or a baseball game or a basketball game, and they would rather spend $170, $200 a month on a cable bundle, right? So that they can sit and watch these things that are entertaining, but they sure aren't helping with you providing yourself or your family with some insurance. Well, AP, if something happens, then the government's going to help me. Okay, I'm sure that the government will be there to help you. So let's take a look. The government was there for Puerto Rico, all right, because FEMA they contracted 30 million meals for Puerto Rico, and guess what? Only 50,000 were delivered. Out of the 30 million meals that FEMA had contracted for Puerto Rico, only 50,000 meals were delivered. Really, ladies and gentlemen? And that's 30 million that they contracted. All right? They only ended up getting, they got less than oh, I don't even want to do the math, because it's what, maybe 1%? They got a little over 1% maybe of what they contracted for. In the US, there's 330 million people. Okay? There's 330 million people in the US. Is FEMA coming to help? Do you really think that FEMA's coming to help if we have some kind of a systemic crisis? You're telling me that FEMA's going to be able to get 330 million meals 3 times a day for however long the crisis lasts? I don't think so. I don't think so. Ask yourself, is it realistic that FEMA's going to be there to take care of you and your family when the time comes? Is it realistic that they're going to be there to help you? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but the answer is no. Okay, FEMA is going to help. You know who FEMA is going to help? If we ever have a systemic crisis, CME, EMP, financial collapse, Great Depression, that affects the entire nation, if not the world. Okay, because if the United States goes into a Great Depression, guess what? The world is going to join us. Right? That's how bad it will be. All right? If a CME that's big enough to take out the grid for the US happens, guess what? If it's big enough for the US, that means that it's big enough for the whole world. All right? So think about what would happen if we all of a sudden went back 150 years. Because that's what would happen if we did not have the technology that we have today. A lot of people will die. A lot of people will die. It will become a resource problem. It will become a problem with resourcing calories. Where are we going to get those calories from? And for the places, for the food baskets of the US, for the places where we grow most of our food, that's great. We'll still be able to grow that food, but how are we going to transport it? Ladies and gentlemen, you can transport food right now in many different ways. You can go to the LDS online store and order food, and they'll ship it to you at a very reasonable shipping cost too. I remember I did a video months ago where I ordered, I think it was like 6 or 8 cases of number 10 cans of wheat berries, and also of dry milk, and I think they only charged me like $3.50 to ship me all of that stuff. I must have ordered close to 200 pounds worth of food from them, and I think they only charged me like $3.50. It was an extremely low shipping cost that they charged me. So you can order food from the LDS cannery. If you have one near you, you can go there and buy it directly from them at a much lower price than if you bought it off the internet. You can go to your supermarket and get food now. Heck, you can order food from Amazon and have it delivered to you. We have a way of getting food now. Why are you waiting until that goes away? Well, AP, what about the military? They can help us. Sure, the military can help us. So check this out. I pulled this up from the DLA website. It's from the GAO, which is a government office, okay? And the DLA is, they stand for, let me see what they stand for again. I forgot their acronyms. I forgot what their acronym stands for, but it's some kind of a Defense Logistics Agency, okay? Defense Logistics Agency. So what they do is one of the functions that they provide for the government is that they sell the government or the military MREs. Okay? And let me just read to you this right here. Now this is a few years old, but the numbers should be around the same. Alright? But let's go, I'm going to go ahead and double the numbers. Alright? Just to put it into perspective. Okay? So this was between 2007 and 14 on average. On average, on-hand inventory of MREs was 4.6 million cases. Okay, on average, they had a 4.66 million cases of MREs on hand. All right, let's go ahead and bump that up to 10 million. All right, let's bump that up to 10 million cases. All right, so a major crisis happens. First of all, how are they going to get you those MREs if they can? How are they going to get them to you? All right. Let's say there's a CME or even a financial collapse, because the last I heard, people don't like to work for free. All right. And eventually, if soldiers don't get paid, eventually they won't be there anymore. All right? All of you that think that if something happens and cops and first responders stop getting paid, you really think they're going to stay on the job? I don't think so. That's why the third B of prepping, self-defense, is very important. Because when people stop getting paid, they stop going to work. Any one of you that are working, ask yourselves, how long will you go to work for after you stop getting paid? Okay? But anyways, let's say that you know, that these guys have some fairy dust and they'll be able to deliver MREs to you anywhere you are. So let's say they have twice as many as what this is saying that their average holdings are. Let's say they have 10 million cases of MREs. 10 million times 12 is 120 million MREs. That's not even enough to feed half of the people in this country one meal. So at any one time, if we double their numbers, if we double the numbers of MREs that the military holds at any one time, if we double it, it's still not enough to feed one meal to everyone in the country. So when the SHTF happens, ladies and gentlemen, who are you going to rely on? FEMA or the military? Which one of those is going to take care of you? That's the point that I've been trying to make through a lot of these videos, is that I am not a doom and gloom, but what I am is a realist. And I like to take a look at the situation and say, can this happen? And if it does, what are the repercussions? If we have an economic collapse, or if we have a CME, or if we have an EMP, all right? If we have a major disaster that affects the entire country and or the world, FEMA is not going to take care of you and your family. Understand that. Do your own research. The military is not going to bring MREs to you guys, to us. They're not going to come and give us MREs. They're going to keep those MREs for themselves. I think I covered this in one of my previous videos as well. The United States has about 70 or 80 million metric tons of grain in reserves. That's what we have extra after we use everything that we use in a year. That's enough grain to feed every American a half loaf of bread. So far we've got FEMA, who was able to provide Puerto Rico with about 1% of the meals that they contracted for. We have the military, who would be able to provide less than half of the people in America with one MRE, and then that's it, they're all out. Or we have the United States grain reserves that's enough to feed each American about a half a loaf of bread. That's what we got to fall back on if we don't prep. So now are you starting to see where I'm coming from on how important it is that you prepare for the worst and hope for the best? Hope that you can prepare for the worst and never have to use any of your preps. Hope that 5 years from now you're like, I'm going to rotate some of these freeze-dried foods, so I'm going to give some of them away for Christmas gifts. Do you have a way of getting water? At least. I'm talking to those of you that refuse to prep. Those of you that are stuck in this mental drain that tells you that you don't need to prep. That tells you that you don't need to get insurance for your family's nutritional well-being, for your family's health, well-being, for your family's protection. All right? That is what prepping is. It's insurance that will give you a chance to figure it out. It will give you time to understand what it is that you're going to need the next season or next year, to figure out what you will need. That's why I got the propane heater installed that I got. That's why I got that. Because even though I don't have a wood stove hooked up in my house, that propane heater and the amount of propane that I have will allow me an entire winter to figure out if I need to get a stove and install it, which eventually I will have a stove ready to install. I will have it available and ready to install. But that extra fuel that I have with that non-electric heater will give me time to figure it out. That's what prepping is, ladies and gentlemen. When you don't prep and you don't have the basic things that you need, you will suffer and eventually you will die. And when you die because of a lack of nutrition or clean water or medical supplies that you may need, or just hygiene items, you suffer. You will suffer before you die. Okay? When you fail to plan, when you fail to prepare, you will suffer before you die. Okay? Like I said, many people will die during a major systemic crisis that affects everyone in our country or everyone in the world. Many people will die because it will be an issue of not being able to get resources. Okay? Have you at least thought about what you will do about water? I have. I've thought about what I would do about water. I've even thought about what will I do if I don't have electricity to work my water pump. Well, guess what? I came up with a handheld water pump that I can actually use to pump water by hand into my water tank, my pressurized water tank, and that tank will be able to deliver water throughout the house. Only 15 gallons at a time, but it'll still allow me to flush the toilet. It will still allow us to take a shower, all right? Without having electricity, it'll still allow us to use the sink without having electricity. I've thought about that. Have you thought about what you're going to do? I've even thought about what will I do if I cannot get water. Because right now, the way I get my water is through a local watering hole where I fill up a transfer tank that I have in the back of my truck, and then I pump that water into my reservoir that's under my house. But what if I can't go to town because my truck don't work, or because it's too expensive to buy gasoline? I've even figured out a way to be able to get water without that, and to be able to store water that will last me a whole year. It won't be nice. It might get pretty stinky around the house, you know, because we can't take a shower as often as we're used to, but we'll be able to survive. All right? I've figured out a way to be able to put water into my tank even in the wintertime when there's snow. I'll be able to put water in my tank by melting snow and diverting that melted snow, melting the snow into water, diverting that into my tank. I've even figured out a way to do that. What have you done? Have you figured out a way to get water? Have you figured out a way to clean your water and sanitize your water? Because listen to this. A lack of clean water can possibly result in gastrointestinal problems. All right? Diarrhea, nausea, stomach cramps, dehydration, and ultimately death. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The last thing on there was death. But those first 5 things, if you go through those, you're going to feel pain and you're going to suffer. Heed the warning. At least get yourself a good water filter, and they're not that expensive. Even if all you get is a Life Straw or a Sawyer Mini, at least you have something that will clean your water and that will make your water drinkable. Okay? Have you thought about getting, your medical preps? All right? Let's say, for example, you're a diabetic, especially if you're listening to this and you have medical conditions where you need prescription medication, you should be thinking about prepping more than anyone else, because these are things you're going to have, or else you're going to die. I mean, let's say, for example, if you have diabetes, what are you going to do for insulin? All right? I am personally convinced that if you have diabetes, depending on if it's type 1 or type 2, that you can more than likely control your blood sugar with your diet. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. All right? But if you don't treat diabetes, you're going to get high blood pressure. All right? Your vision is going to start to fade. Your kidney can fail, or your kidneys can fail. You can lose a limb. All right? You're more prone to getting infections. All right? You can, your vision is going to get worse and worse over time. You can have organ failure due to nerve damage. Right? You can go into a coma. You can have a heart attack, a stroke, and then eventually you'll die. Have you thought about prepping for your medications? Have you thought about prepping some Neosporin? Are you going to be that person who has everything they need and they get a cut on their finger, and because they didn't prep some basic first aid supplies, that they end up getting blood poisoning from an infection on their finger and dying? Ladies and gentlemen, I know that it's a lot to take in, but the first thing that you have to come to a realization of is this. When I talk to people that have no interest in preparing, to me it's almost like they're an alcoholic. They say that if you're an addict of any kind, it could be drugs or alcohol, that the first thing you have to do before you can treat the addiction is that the person has to admit that they have a problem. So when I speak to people or see people comment that they don't need to prep or that prepping is useless, those people don't understand that there is a problem. And for the most part, it's not their fault. If you're one of those people and you're listening to this, for the most part, it's not your fault. You've been programmed all your life. You've been domesticated. We've been domesticated to think that food grows in the supermarket, and that you're going to be able to go to the supermarket anytime you want and pick whatever you want up. And that those Cheetos and corn chips and tortillas, they're always going to be on that shelf. And that Diet Pepsi or that Coca-Cola, it's always going to be on that shelf, and you're always going to be able to get it. We've been indoctrinated ever since we were children to be domesticated, just like the dog and the cat. So it's not really our fault. However, if you're lucky enough to have clicked on this video today and you've never thought about prepping, or maybe you've thought about it and you just been putting it off, if you're lucky enough, you're getting a message from God right now. Not me. I'm not God. But what I'm saying is that some divine intervention just happened to cause you to click on that button and listen to what you're listening to. Because I am just giving you the message. If you are not prepared, you are preparing to fail. And not being prepared in the types of crises that are very possible in this day and age is you preparing to suffer and then to die. So if at the very least you don't want to suffer, or you don't want to see your children suffer, or your wife or your husband suffer, at the very least, give yourselves a chance to figure it out. Because this can happen any day. This can happen at any time. And you know what? When this happened here a few days ago, we didn't hear about it until it was like one day out. I heard about this about one day out. About it would have been about one day. If it would have ended up hitting us, I would have found out about one day before it hit us. They're not going to tell you until it's too late. So have a plan. You will not find out until it's too late. This too. This right here as well. This right here, as far as I know, the banks might be closed on Monday. As far as I know, on Monday, the banks may not open, and there may be a banking holiday where the string pullers are sitting behind the scenes trying to figure out what they can do to save the system at our expense. That can happen. It's happened before. What makes you think it can't happen again? The last time that something like this happened in a grand scale was back in during the Great Depression, and I already told you millions of people died of starvation during that time. All right? What makes you think it can't happen again? So give yourselves a chance, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Give yourselves an opportunity to figure it out. And the only way you're going to do that is by prepping. Is by getting prepared to take care of yourselves for a certain number of time, for a certain number of days or months or years. The more the better. But at the very minimum, give yourselves a 6-month head start. You can get 6 months worth of food. If you haven't seen my videos before, if you're here for the first time, or if you're a new subscriber, go back to my payday preps. Take a look at some of those videos so you can see how inexpensive it is to prep enough nutrition to feed you and your families for a year. See how inexpensive it is. $700 will purchase you enough nutrition to feed a family of 4 for a whole year. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not a lot of money nowadays. Even if you make minimum wage, you can afford $70 a month. All right? And in 10 months, you'll have enough food for your entire family for a whole year. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and leave it at that. I think I've gone on a very long rant today. But I just think that it's so important. Those of you that have listened to this message time and time again, thank you for hanging in there. And thank you for understanding that this is a message that needs to be repeated time and time again. Because, like I said, this can happen anytime. But it is a message that I feel it's so important to repeat and to say it again and to drive it home especially with new subscribers that maybe are not prepping at a level that they should be, and especially for those new community members that aren't prepping at all. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not prepping and you're watching this video and you're subscribed to this channel, and this channel is pretty much an entertainment thing for you, that's great. It's great that you get entertainment out of it. All right, if you do. I don't think I'm very entertaining, but if you're not prepping and you're visiting this channel and you're part of our community because you're looking for entertainment, that's great. Thank you for supporting the channel and the community. Okay, but the mission of this community is to get you to start prepping. Because if what I've shown you so far doesn't convince you that when a systemic crisis occurs, that you are going to be on your own. It's going to be you, your family, and your community. You will be on your own. All right? Superman is not coming to help. You will be on your own. So heed the warning. Please, I hope to the Lord, I hope to the good Lord above that I am 100% wrong. And that 50 years from now, my kids can be calling me a wacko for making these videos. I hope that I am so wrong. But what if I'm not? What if I'm not? What if the Ice Age farmer's not wrong? What if Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch is not wrong? What if Dave Dubine from Agenda 2030 is not wrong? What if Christopher from the Ice Age guy 2050 or the Climate guy 2050 is not wrong? What if Dark Age Ramblings, all right? What if he's not wrong and we are going into a grand solar minimum? What if Dr. Zarkova is not wrong and says that by the year 2028 we will be having massive food shortages? What if any of those people are not wrong? What are you going to do when the time comes that your kids ask you for food and you did not act? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this normalcy bias bull to be over and done with. It's time for you to grow up and listen to the warnings. Do your own research. Look around you. Look around. Stop listening to the mainstream media. Start listening to your own intuition. You are a smart person. Use your brain. That thing in between your ears that God gave you. Use it and look around and ask yourselves, can we continue going down this path? Can we continue borrowing money like there's no end? Can we continue dodging CMEs? We've dodged several of these big storms, big solar storms. We've dodged several of them. That's not going to last forever. Eventually, one of them will connect. No matter how bad of a pitcher you are, eventually you will throw a strike. Ask yourselves why you're not preparing. Look at yourselves in the mirror and ask yourselves, do you have anything worth prepping for? And if you have family, then you already know what the answer is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that, okay? I can't say anymore. I can't. I really hope that those of you that are listening that maybe are still thinking about prepping, I really hope that you don't just listen to me. Do some research, all right? Do some of your own research so that you can see what state our world is in, and hopefully you will decide to at least start putting something back for yourselves and for your families. because times are going to get tough, ladies and gentlemen. Times are going to get tough, all right? And only those of us that are prepared are going to have a chance. A lot of preppers are going to die. If something like this happens, where you're looking at here, if something like that happen, a lot of preppers are going to die. But preppers are the only ones that are going to have a chance to live. All right? Those people that aren't prepping, it'll be a miracle for non-preppers to survive a catastrophe like a massive CME or grid down scenario that lasts for more than a year. All right? It'll be almost impossible for someone who's not a prepper to survive something like this that lasts for almost a year or longer than a year. But preppers will at least have a chance. And that's what I want you guys to do, is to give yourselves a chance. All right? So ladies and gentlemen, having said that, listen, thank you very much for joining me today. I truly do appreciate chatting with you guys live. Okay, so hopefully we're chatting away right now. Like I said, it's it's Friday night right now, and I still have to upload this video. Obviously it's not over yet, but for those of you that are here now and that have joined in, thank you very much. I truly, this is one of the highlights of my week, is being able to do these live chat with you guys. And maybe one day I'll be able to figure out how to actually do a live presentation. Okay, I want to thank all of the new subscribers. Okay, I'm going to be doing a shout out for you guys on Sunday, and on Sunday I'm also going to try to put up a live chat, a premiere chat like we're doing right now. Put it up for Sunday morning for those of you that want to join in as well. Like I said, the weekend is really the only time of the week that I can do this and really dedicate a little bit of time towards it, as far as spending time with you guys on a live chat. Okay, so I'll try to keep doing this on Saturdays and Sundays, and we've been doing really good so far. We've been having a really good time during our live chats, and I appreciate you guys for that. So having said that, again, thank you to the new subscribers. I really do hope that you are all getting some kind of value out of watching these videos. All right, and I want to thank you all for your support as well. Having said that, I'm going to keep saying this because to me it's very important that I continue to do giveaways, because it's a way for me to be able to give back to you guys for your support. Okay, so if you want to support the channel, you can actually do a super chat if you like. Okay, you don't have to, but if you like, I like to remind people of that because some people do, and I appreciate that, and the community as a whole appreciates that, because that's going to be coming back to the community as well. However, if you can't afford to do a super chat and donate that way, please use my Amazon link, especially for your Christmas shopping and holiday shopping this year. Hopefully you can use it to get yourself some good prepper items. All right, so please use my Amazon link. I leave it in the description of every video, and lately I've been trying to leave a link on a pinned comment, so it'll be easily accessible for you all. If you guys are interested in purchasing any precious metals, please use my link for SD Bullion. Whenever you guys go over there and purchase any precious metals from them, they give me a kickback, but it doesn't cost you anything more. I do believe that SD Bullion right now has a deal on some spot silver, so you'd have to go over there and check it out. But if you do, please use my link, and I and the community as a whole will appreciate that. And whatever revenue I get from SD Bullion, I'm going to use some of that revenue to give away silver. Okay, so in the future, if I start giving away silver or doing giveaways for silver, it's because some people have been purchasing from that site using my link. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and the easiest way that you all can support the channel is what I always say. If you can, let 1 or 2 ads run through the video when you're watching it. That helps to generate some revenue from YouTube, and that will support the channel as well without costing you a penny. So the ways that you can support the channel without it costing you anything out of pocket is by using my Amazon link, all right, to do your shopping that you were going to do anyways. If you're going to buy precious metals and you want to try out SD Bullion, please use that link, and please let a few ads run through now and then. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for being here today. I hope that you guys are having a great Saturday so far, okay? And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. So have a great day. Be safe. Do some prepping this weekend, okay? Get yourself some candles. Get yourself some fuel. Go buy yourselves a $20 butane or propane stove that you can use to cook inside. Go buy yourself some more cast iron pots if you don't have enough. All right, go buy yourselves some fire starters, you know, so that you can make fire outside if you ever have to. Go purchase yourself a silky saw so that you can cut wood easily. All right, there's too many things that we can get, but most of all, ladies and gentlemen, practice with the things that you already have. Okay, don't just buy it and leave it in a box. Practice with it, use it, and get familiar with it. Okay, no matter what it is, anything from a water filter to a firearm, practice with it so you can become efficient with it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, having said that, again, thank you very much for joining me. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to every one of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.